Praise Yah. Now, I'm going to teach you the words. This bottle. This kind of going. Here's another mic. You'll get this one when I go sit down. If you don't keep it. All right. The song is called Let Everything That Have Breath Praise Yah. Let everything that have breath praise Yah. And then there's a part in we say, we send them up the highest praise, hallelujah. We send them up the highest praise, hallelujah. Everybody say, let everything that have breath, praise Yah. Praise Yah. Let everything that have breath, praise Yah. We send them up. I'm going to say send them up. Y'all say the highest praise. The highest praise. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We send them up. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. That's the part I say, Shema, Israel. Shema, Israel. Shema, Israel. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Shema, Israel. Shema, Israel. Shema, Israel. Hallelujah. All right? Don't be scared. All right, so give me a little picture. There we go. Come in. Go like this. All right, I'll sit myself. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Say, let everything that has breath praise Yah. 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 Sing it and do it. Everything that has breath praise Yah. Say, let everything that has breath. I'm saying, we send them up the highest praise. Hallelujah. 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 Let everything that has breath. Y'all gotta say, let everything that has breath praise. Let everything that has breath praise. Let everything that has breath praise. Here we go. We send them up the highest praise. Hallelujah. We send them up the highest praise. Hallelujah. We send them up the highest praise. Hallelujah. We send them up the highest praise. Come on. Hallelujah. Let everything, let everything that has breath praise. Say let everything that has breath praise God. Let everything that has breath praise God. Let everything that has breath praise. Here we go, here we go. We send them up. We send them up. The highest praise. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We send them up. The highest praise. Hallelujah. We send them up. The highest praise. Hallelujah. We send them up. The highest praise. Hallelujah. Let everything say let. I'm doing like let me see how much. Let everything that has breath praise God. Let everything that has y'all got it. Say let everything that has breath. Here we go. Say we send them up. Hallelujah. We send them up. Hallelujah. We send them up. Hallelujah. We send them up. Everything everything. Come on, pray out. Let everything. Let everything. Yeah, we send them up. Hallelujah. We send them up. Hallelujah. We send them up. Hallelujah. We send them up. Let everything. Let everything. Let everything. Let everything. We send them up. Hallelujah. We send them up. We send them up. We send them up. Say, let everything that have breath clap your hands. Let everything that have breath. Let me hear the clap for here. Let everything. Let everything. Let everything. Let everything. Let everything. Here we go, here we go. We send them up. Hallelujah. 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 Come on. Everybody do it dance. Let everything that have breath do a dance. Let everything that have breath. Let me see you dance. See y'all dancing. Y'all ain't got no rhythm. Let everything. Come on, man, we can do it like this. We still look strong. Don't do it like this. Damn. Hey, we send them up.
We are pouring out to you, Yahuwah. Come on, declare at your feet. holy to you, God. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Well, let's praise the Most High for His holiness. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. He is protection. Those that might not have known, He is holy. Come on. Come on, let's say this one, Father. We glorify you. We bless you. Hallelujah. He is so holy, set apart. He's good. Thank the Most High for the praise team. Hallelujah. Pour it out before the Most High. Hallelujah. So this is what we're supposed to do. Give Him our all and worship. And He will come and visit His people. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Kim, if you need the card, it should be over there in the other camera, just in case. Hallelujah. Come on, let's give the Most High another hand clap. Another praise. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right, so we want to talk about today the eternal priesthood order in the earth that was passed down from Adam all the way to Yahusha. And we're going to show you this Melchizedekian order, or this order that was passed down from the beginning. All right? And how many of us, well, I know a lot of us, we had a good review yesterday. Everybody been paying attention to what we were saying. We don't want to go too fast for those that are following what me and Josh is teaching on the order, because we really want you to get this and grasp this. But we're going to go from, we showed a couple of weeks ago how Adam was a priest, and how when the earth was being made, that a temple was actually being formed. And the Garden of Eden was an enclosure of the Holy of Holies, where the priest, which was Adam, did the work of the Most High. We'll go over a little bit of that, but then we're going to show you this priesthood passed down all the way to Yahusha, and then been passed down all the way to us. Hallelujah? Y'all all right? Yeah. No, the Most High still moving on y'all, some of y'all, but it's all right. Just let Him use you. All right, what's the first order of being a priest? What do you have to realize about yourself? What do you have to realize about yourself that a priest must understand? So we are all a priest right now under the high priesthood of Yahusha. So what is something that you have to understand? Something, let's get the mic to, let's put it in the audience too. What is one of the first things that you have to understand as a priest? Anybody can, go ahead. Intercede. All right, what else?
It's a standard.
A standard. You have to live a standard in order to be a priest. You can't be like everybody else. You have to be separate. What else? Anybody else? Set apart. Holy. All right, let's keep going. So the first order, everything y'all said encompassed sacrifice. That's the first order of knowing that you're a priest. You are not your own. Now, by us being the body of Yahusha, and also being the body here as rebirth of all, not of all, but as rebirth and mainly of Yahusha, you don't think for yourself no more. Everybody in this room, you're connected in the body of Yahusha. And the things that you do will affect everybody. That's the mentality that we have to learn to think about. The things that I do can affect everybody I'm connected to. Not just me, but all of us here are priests. So the first order of service or business is sacrifice. Well, I'm doing nothing for my own. My intercession and what I'm praying is not for me. You'll realize that your faith that's being built, your problems and circumstances and situations going to fix it because you heard it. He's not going to stop heaven to fix your situation. Knowing that you are connected to everybody, so you have to learn how to sacrifice your own agenda in order to get his agenda done. I'm going to say that again. So understand that my first order of business is sacrifice. All right? I want to thank the Most High for all of your beautiful faces. Let me do this because I got to do this. Beautiful faces for being out there. For some of you visitors for coming from out of town, far and near. Thank my family, also my children, faithfully by my side. Thanks to the Most High so much for my wife that stands faithfully by my side and pray and intercede for me. Hallelujah. And the relationship that the Most High established in her, I give her honor. Hallelujah. And the Most High and Yahusha get all glory, honor, and praise. Hallelujah. Come on, give it to him a little bit. I got the bit. So your first order of service, understanding that if you don't make it, this is how we got to think as a nation. You can call somebody else to follow. We have been trained to put everything on the moray and the pastors and the teachers. Now, don't everybody need to try to be a moray because we'll get a greater judgment. That's right. Don't get happy because people come to see you. Because your judgment will be greater. You will be condemned or justified by everything you put out. That's right. This ain't nothing to play with. And by being up here with this mic in your hand, you put a bullseye for how Satan attack you and your family. Praise team and everything. That's why all of y'all got to be holding up a standard because you up here, we up here singing, talking about hallelujah. You're like, yep, I got something for you. I'm going to try to knock all that hallelujah out your chest. Like for real. But we got to get a mentality of first sacrifice, right? Even in relationships with husband and wife. Listen. I got to do everything that I got to do to make sure my marriage works. Why? Because somebody connected to me and somebody watching. That's right. That's right. I'm done. I don't do image. I don't try to look a certain way for nobody. People that have been knowing me for years know how I am, know how me and my wife is. We don't care about image. That's right. If you come to us, we'll tell you our story, tell you everything. But if we don't make it, we can cause others to fall. If you don't make it, you can cause others to fall. So first you got to sacrifice your own mindset and your own agenda by becoming a priest. Because you're going to get tested with that. Because when the Most High start using you to deliver people, it's a sense of pride that can come. You start casting spirits out people, it's a sense of pride that can come. When you start giving people wisdom and insight, it's a sense of pride that can come. You see what I'm saying? So you got to sacrifice that and get out of trying to have an image. We was talking to some of the family earlier, even when we was at the fair, like, listen, it's time to get real with each other. Hey, it's all right to say, I'm struggling. And I don't care what nobody thinks, I'm struggling. I need some help. You got to be careful who you tell that to now. When you confess your faults one to another, because everybody ain't ready. Somebody gonna get on their phone and say, "Do you know that's what's self-sacrifice." Knowing first, it ain't. If I'm gonna be a priest, I got to know it ain't about me. Let me give you a quick example because I got a lot to cover, but I got to give you the story. It's kind of funny. All right, there was a time in biblical days where this donkey was chilling in this inn. He was in there having a good time. He was chilling. And there became a meeting with all the animals in the barn. Alright? The horse was in there talking about what great of a day he had. The chickens. And the roosters, they was talking about how great it is. But the donkey kept wanting to tell by his thing. Every time he would try to come up and say something, somebody would interrupt him. Then the old rooster said, "Cock-a-doodle-doo." Hold on. Oh, that's the real sound. came and got me and put a blanket over my bed. Then I entered into a city, and everybody began to cry Hosanna and bow down to me. They bow down to me and say, Hosanna, the highest. And I'm looking like, everybody acknowledged me. And they laid gifts before me and palm trees. And some bowed, calling me a lamb when I'm a donkey. But it didn't matter at the time. I felt good. Moral of the story is, if I say moral of the story, the donkey got caught up on him rather than who was on his back. It was Yahusha. It wasn't you. It was just the donkey that answered the call. That's the mentality that we got to have. This ain't us. I don't care how many people bowing down. How many people say you talk that good. You sung that thing. No. This ain't about me. It's about who's inside of me. Hallelujah. All right, let's keep on. So Romans 12, right, the first order of priesthood is sacrifice. No individuality. That's why Yahusha said, if any man will come after me, he has to do what? He has to do what? Deny himself. Romans 12, I beseech you therefore, brother, by the mercy of Elohim, that you present your bodies a what? So you're supposed to live as a sacrifice. Live as a sacrifice. Holy, acceptable unto Elohim, which is your reasonable service. All right, now let's go to a quick review. For those that ain't one here, if you wasn't, go back and look at the videos that we got on the order, the temple, and the priest. All right. What we always say, I want my what mind back? I want my what mind back? I want my what mind back? All right. Now, all in the story of Genesis, you got to understand the book. It's whispers from our ancestors to give us insight even for today. That you got to look above the surface and look below and see what's being revealed to you. Because we can see our story even in Genesis. Yes. All right? I'm going to keep going quick. Ancient Near East cultures believe that waters covering the earth and the earth emerging out of its place of obscurity is a temple. Somebody get Genesis 1 and verse 2 and read that real quick. I'm going to move fast through this, y'all.
And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. So
we know the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. That lets us know that something happened. Because the Most High don't create something formless and void. And so something had to happen that the earth didn't have purpose. All right, keep going. I can't go over all that. Y'all got to go back and look at the video because it's going to be long. Go ahead.
And the Ruach Elohim moved upon the face of the water.
And the Ruach moves upon the face of the water. So in ancient cultures, when something is emerging out of darkness, out of the face of the deep, in ancient Near East cultures, they all understood this is a temple that's being formed. Even though we see an earth, but it's a temple. All right? And every temple had a tree of life, which is rivers flowed, and also every temple had a holy of holies, in which it was a sacred place that was housed the deity of the meeting place. The tree of life was the garden, and the garden was the holy of holies of the earth, and the earth was the temple housing Yah. So the earth was made, it was the house Yah. He made the garden, he made Adam outside the garden and put him in the garden. The garden was the holy of holies, where the priest, which was Adam, and he put in the garden to do his what? Priesthood work. Y'all follow? All right, let's keep going. All these cultures understood that. The Sumerian, Egyptian, Mesopotamian, and Assyrian. All right, let's keep going. And Yahuwah took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and keep it. Somebody say dress it and keep it. He wasn't making no beds and making sure it's right. So what is a priestly job? Is to do what? Priestly work. So there's a difference between your work and your job. Say it again. It's a difference between your work and your job. Your job is something, he didn't say he put him in the garden to do a job. He put him in there to do his work. Right? Your work is what you've been assigned to do in the earth. That's your purpose. Your job is what you might have to do to survive for money. You understand that? So, every man is not going to get tried by his job. He's going to get tried by what? if you're sitting on gifts, you're going to have to get account to that. So the Most High going to require that of you. How did you sit down on what I put inside of you? Every man, what work? We look at morals when it comes to that. No. What I put inside of you, that's why you have to discover what's my assignment and what's my purpose, because that's my work that I'm going to be trying. We understand that? Moving past. Genesis 1. And God said, let there be light, and the light was made functional. And God saw the light that was functioning. God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning was the first day. We're going to keep going. All right, this is what I wanted to get to. So the Most High put Adam in the garden. He naming everything. He creating everything. He making everything into existence, right? But to Adam, there was no suitable helper found. So Yah Elohim caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and while he was sleeping, he took a man's rib and then closed it up in the place of flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib, and he had taken out a man and brought her to the what? To the man. Notice how science go right into the scripture and do the same thing. Before a major surgery, what they do? Put you in a deep way. The same thing here. They come against the Bible, but they doing principles in the Bible. Then this man said, this is what? Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, thou shalt be named what? Because he was taken out of what? So now he's saying, I am completely responsible for you. You're a bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. My first sacrifice is supposed to be for you. I'm getting to a certain place. Now I got to show you this, and I said this before, but I got to break this back down for the woman, right? Because I like for women to understand their value. So when you hear something like the man is the head, that you won't think that's a competition. But you won't hear that with the ear of Beyonce. When you know your value, what you've been created for, it ain't no fight. Because we've been raised in America, and we got into a fight that was not a fight. Because it was the, let me show. Alright, women is the seal and the promise of the redemption of the first covenant. Now, every seal, the Most High, with every covenant, he gives us a what? A seal. So what was the seal of the of the Noah covenant? It was the rainbow, right? And what was the rainbow? It was a promise, but it was a promise of what? The Abrahamic covenant, what was the seal of that? Circumcision, something that you can visibly see. And that was the promise of what? I'm going to multiply your descendants. That's the stars of heaven. That's the sand of the sea. And your seed will come back to where? To the land. Alright? The Israelite covenant, our seal was the Sabbath day. Alright? The Davidic covenant was the seal, was the throne. And the renewed covenant was the seal of the Holy Spirit. But notice what he said, what was the seal of Eden in the beginning, Genesis 2. He said, I will put enmity. Notice even when he gave punishment for what was done, he still gave mercy and added a promise to it. Genesis 2:15, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and he shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise the seed. And the woman shall be saved through what? All right, so the woman, through her womb, she is the sign and seal of the Eden covenant. That he said, I'm going to bring a promise of a seed through your womb. So every woman, the first thing that child sees when that child is birthed, he sees the sign and the seal of the first covenant. Right. This is why you are being given to earth and given to man as a gift from the Most High, as a sign and seal that he's going to have an eternal covenant with his children. Every time we see a woman and a child birthed from that, a child is meeting the sign and the seal of the Eden covenant. We understand that. So it's important to know your value, because if you're a sign and seal of a covenant, then you shouldn't be getting beat on. You shouldn't be getting verbally abused. That's right. Because you're greater than that. You shouldn't be getting cheated on multiple times. That's what you're a seal of the first covenant. That's what deliverance and salvation is coming from. That's why you got to know your value and your worth. You understand what I'm saying? Let's keep going. Y'all believe that about yourself? Yeah. I need to hear a little bit more women. right, let's go. Now watch this. I ain't have time to go all that other stuff. You have to watch the video. So we're going to see what Adam did in the beginning when he fell. We understand that they failed, they messed up. Genesis chapter 3, verse 4. Somebody read it for me.
And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die.
No, keep going.
Oh, no. For Yah does know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons.
All right, stop right there. Let's keep going. Now, we see that something happened. When did the Most High show up? Did he show up when Eve ate the fruit? When did he show up? What does that mean to you? The man is always responsible. Might not be your fault, but you're the one he's going to come to. Because we're supposed to what? Present our family to the Most High. Knowing that we've been doing what we've been called to do in order to align our family the way the Most High desired. But it says, when I go to 1 Timothy 2, it says Adam was deceived. But the woman was deceived in transgression. What does that mean? That means that Adam was there, but it said he wasn't deceived. He what? What did he know though? He knew not to eat. But he ate, but he said he wasn't deceived though. The serpent ain't deceived him. He said what? He said it's the woman. Did he blame the woman? No, he didn't. I'm going to show you to blame the woman. He said it's that woman you gave. He blamed the woman. One of my brothers had a call with a Jonathan from San Antonio. He brought out that point. But it says that Adam, he said, this woman is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. I'm the high priest in this garden. He had a choice. He could have said no. And he would have just what? Cast off his woman. He could have just been like, oh, that woman over there, give me another. No, go on, woman. I ain't gonna eat this fruit because I eat it and you didn't eat the fruit. You didn't eat it already. Now give me another woman, Most High. But did he think that's a fruit? Let's see what it said. Did Adam lay down his life for his wife, the same as the second Adam laid down his life for Israel? It said he wasn't deceived, boy, in the transgression. But he disobeyed. You see, watch what Yahusha say in this order. He said, you talking to me about the Sabbath day, right? He said, the priests defile the Sabbath day every Sabbath and are what? Blameless. I'm picking these things. And David ate the showbread, which was a transgression, and didn't get killed. So what did Adam understood that this woman is part of me? Bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She done transgressed now. If she's bone of my bone, what am I to do with it? There got to be somebody coming after me. Because I got to lay down my life as a priest in hope of a redeemer. See what I'm saying? Let's keep reading. It says in verse, husband, love your wives, even as Christ also loved his church and did what? Gave him what? So did he give himself? This is just something to think about. I ain't saying this is or not. But you have to look at the scriptures and see types and shadows of things that was going to happen. Alright? Verse 31. for this cause shall man leave his father and mother and shall be joined into what? And the two shall be what? Well, who was Adam, mother and father? The Most High was his father. He came from his mother earth. So he had to leave his father and be joined with. Because he had to cover the multitude of her ways. Yahusha said he became a what? Transgression. That we might become what? Righteous. That didn't mean he wasn't nervous when y'all came in the garden. Say, Adam, where I'm down. I don't know if I made it right. This woman that did that, but I know that was bone in my bone. The first order is. But watch this. Watch this. He said, your desire now gonna be unto your husband. Alright? Notice, even in his judgment, it was still mercy and redemption. He said, now your desire gonna be unto you, because he gave, I'm breaking this down, he gave his life. So now, you're gonna have problems and sorrow. Adam, you're gonna have to work by the sweat of your brow. But now the woman gives her life for her. Because every time you have a baby, you give me your life.
That's the truth, that's right. Yes.
I mean, you at the point of death.
That's true.
Every time. So as he sacrificed, now she's a living sacrifice to her family. That's why a woman will leave everything in order to get her family together, her babies together. She's always working.
Yes.
Wow.
But
That's good.
I'm going to sacrifice to him. Man, we ain't got to sacrifice like that, but we put that baby, got children in there. We transmit the faith. But you know what I mean? But with no sorrow. This is why we got to treat the women right, man. This is why, because they give their lives for us. They're a living sacrifice every time they have them babies. You know what I'm saying? Let the women say, hallelujah. Let the men say, hallelujah. And we're going to do it a little better. We're going to understand when she get a little moody now. She done gave her life to me about 4 times with each other. Give her a little grace. All right, let's get going. So, but he said to the man, your desire shall be unto your husband, but your husband shall rule over thee. Rule over thee. I'm the man. Think y'all wouldn't like it. He better finna say something. He better finna clean this up. The Bible say rule. I ain't moving quick. The Bible say rule. You in this book? What book you in now? They got the Bible and then they got Beyonce book. Which one you in? Keisha Cole. No, y'all young people, what's that little crazy yellow woman name? Not Rihanna, the other. Who? Cardi B. That woman will have you be a prostitute. Please don't listen to her. Young folk, don't listen to Cardi B. She crazy. Hear what I'm saying? She about that money, whatever way she got to get. She got to sleep with 12 of y'all. She gonna be money in it. She make money move. All right, let's go. All right, so what does that mean? Rule means mashal. Let's go to the paleo. They get the full understanding. I think y'all don't smile a little bit better. So the M in mashal means water, blood, or that which was stained. The shin means teeth, tooth, or consume. And the lala means shepherd, guide, teach, or bind. So the husband rule over his wife from the Hebrew pediosis means he sustains his wife. We submit to each other. She submit to our lead. We submit to her lead.
That's right. That's right.
We sustain. She submits. We submit to each other. She submits to our lead. We submit to her need. Not just financially, but mainly her emotional needs.
That's right.
Because a woman is an emotional creature. And anybody that's married don't know they emotional now.
Yes, they are.
Have mercy.
That's right.
We be trying our best. One day you feel like a die. Next day you don't.
All right.
All right, y'all pick up.
You don't know what that's like.
Well,
You don't know what that's
because y'all been sacrificing. I ain't done came out my body. Sustain his wife, consume his wife with care and love, and then a listening ear. But sometimes what I learned with my wife is sometimes she just wants you to hear out. But I used to be like, man, all right, I'm gonna go on up there and I'm gonna go fix it. Now I just want you to listen. They want to know that what we got they hear. I'm gonna show y'all again some things to say that we get on through. All right. And the husband also is the shepherd, guide, and to teach the wife. So when the Bible says he ought to rule over there, Mashal, he sustains her, he consumes her, and he shepherds and guides. Right? The man leads the house, but the woman is the one that guides the house. She's the one that makes sure everything is actually getting done. We might declare something, but the woman is going to carry it out. She'll come back to it and be like, well, that ain't going to work like that. And we go back and look for it again.
What you said? What you said? It consumes his wife.
To consume his wife means is to consume her with love, with care, her physical needs, her financial needs, her emotional needs. You're consuming her with the things that she might have been deprived of. That's why the scripture says, know your wife according to knowledge. Because sometimes you might not know what she's been through growing up. It might be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years later that she actually tell you what she's been through that's causing her to act the way she acts. You don't never just look at behavior. You don't look at behavior of your man. You don't look at just behavior of your woman. You begin to see why they behave. That's why the scripture says study each other what? The man tells the man to study the woman according to the knowledge. I have to understand. I don't want to just be doing something. I want to understand why that hurts you. Because I might not know. I'd be like, what you mad for? What you mad? Again. So look at you go over there, you don't want to say nothing. Just all these type of things. But what? We're not consuming each other. That's why the scripture tells us to love our wife, but the Bible don't tell the man, don't tell the woman to love us. That's what a woman is built love. She's like the earth, whatever you put in her, she's going to produce. So some of the stuff that we have put in there, now I'm saying this, some of the stuff your husband ain't put in you. Some of the stuff that old Johnny up the street years ago didn't put in you. And Johnny didn't hurt you like that. Same thing with men. That ain't your wife that did that, that's Shaquisha. Shaquisha still got you mad. Shaquisha. I better start saying Sister Popcorn. I know I was at one place and I called somebody's name. I had to come up with something on the spot. Right, so now, let's see this type of sacrificial priesthood being passed down throughout the generations all the way down to us. Alright, and we know that Adam as a priest taught what? A priesthood to his sons. Alright, you look at Genesis chapter 4. It says, now Abel kept the flocks and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, that's important to see, Cain brought forth fruits of soil and offerings to the Lord. In the course of time, when you look that up, that's an appointed time. It was feast days even back then. That was before the Levitical priesthood came. In the appointed time, he brought forth offerings. And Abel also brought forth an offering of fat portions. How did he know to do that if it wasn't the priesthood being passed down? Verse 6, then Yah said to Cain, why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do that is not right, sin is crouching at the door. And when you look at that word 10 up, I'm going to show you sin offering. Let's look at course of time first. When you look up in the Strongs, it's end time. When you look up the root word, it means to cut off, to cut, to hew off, and to cut into pieces, to be hewn off. All right, and we're talking about the course of time. What does that mean? When you look at the scriptures of Hebrew word bereaved, it always translated in this way, which bereaved, which is derived from the root word, means cut. Or the cutting of a covenant into an animal, into two parts, contracting parties. So this is letting you know that this was a time to cut covenant when he said, in the course of time, he brought forth fruits of the soil. All right, let's keep going. The fat portion of the offering is in Leviticus 3. Leviticus 3 and 3. And if his oblation be a sacrifice or peace offering, if he offer it of the herd, whether it be male or female, he shall offer it without blemish before Yah. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of his offering, and to kill it at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron's sons, the priest, shall sprinkle blood upon it at the altar round about. And he shall offer up the sacrifice of peace offerings, and offering made by fire, the fat of the covering of the inwards, and all the fat of the inward part. This is in Leviticus, but we see this is being broke down through what? Cain and Abel. They offering up sacrifices. Priesthood being passed down. It just ain't starting in Leviticus. Keep going. Let's look at what that sin is. When you look up sins, it's chata. And you can see it is used as sin offering or purification for sin. So the Most High told Cain, if you do not well and what is right, then a sin offering, you would have to purify yourself through a offering. We're seeing it. That a priesthood is being passed down. Let's keep going. Let's look at Enoch, the book of Joshua, chapter 3. I know y'all, some of y'all might ain't got it, but you know it's up here. We're going down the lineage and seeing this priesthood being passed down, right? And this also jewels that you can have when people tell you that Moses' law is done away with. You can see all these offerings was already doing before Moses came. I showed you with Adam and then with Cain and Abel, right? Let's go to Enoch. Enoch lived 65 years and he begat Methuselah. Enoch walked with Elohim out of the heaven, but got Methuselah. Enoch's soul of Enoch was wrapped up in the instruction of the Lord. And in knowledge and in understanding, he was wisely retired from the sons of men and secreted himself from many days. Sometimes it may take you, when you're getting ready for your priesthood, that you got to get away from people. Yeah. Sometimes you have to go still by yourself. Every person that the Most High used, he pulled them away for a season. So I want to get everything that you're familiar with away from you. You see what I'm saying? And you have to consecrate yourself. Because everybody that started with you ain't going to end up with you in your walk. You can see that from your Christian walk all the way up until today, right? Verse 3, and it was the expiration of many years which he was serving Yah and praying before him in the house, that the angel of Yah came unto him from heaven and said, Here I am. And he rose and rise and go forth from thy house and from thy place where thou didst hide thyself, and appeared to the sons of men in order that they may teach them the ways of Yah. And Enoch rose up according to the word of Yah, went forth from house and from his place and from his chamber in which he was concealed, and he went to the sons of men and taught the ways of Yah. Now all we see in Genesis that Enoch walked with the Most High. But we're seeing now that he retired and he came and he began to teach the ways of the Most High. So verse 6, and he ordered to be proclaimed in all the places where the Son of Man dwelt, saying, Where's the man who wishes to know the ways of Yah? And let him come to Enoch. And all the sons of men assembled to them, for all who desired this thing went to Enoch. And Enoch did what? He reigned over the sons of men, so he began to be a king in the earth. We see him priest, and now we see him kingship. And he began to actually run the kingdom. Over the sons of men according to the word, and they came and bowed themselves, and they heard his word. And the Spirit of God was upon Enoch, and he taught all men the wisdom of God and his ways. And the sons of men served God all their days, and they came into the head of wisdom. And all the kings of the sons of men, both first and last, together with all the princes and judges, came to Enoch. So he had even other kings that's coming from distant lands. in order to get wisdom from Enoch. This is how we got to begin to look at ourselves. Who is coming to us because of our lifestyle to get wisdom of the Most High? Are you considered a person of wisdom? Verse 14, and when the 56th year of the life of Lamech, when Adam died, 930 years old, at his death, and two of the sons of man were Enoch and Methuselah, and the sons buried him with a great pomp and all the spirits of the king in the cave, which Yah had told him. So we're able to see that Adam even lived all the way up to the time of Enoch, doing what? Teaching what? This priesthood to these sons. We're seeing that. It got to such a place that we know that, I ain't going to read all that, we got to such a place that we know that the angels from heaven, they came down in Genesis 6, and then what? They slept with the women and they produced what? Children. Alright? They produced children. And they messed up so bad that they went to Enoch to get him to intercede for them to the Most High. I want to show you how important that you are, that the scripture even talk about that we going to judge what? How much more should we be in civil matters? How much more should we be rather than taking things to the courts? That we should be. If we're going to judge angels, and Enoch was so cold that he was able to intercede for angels. You see what we're saying? All right, let's keep going. Priesthood passed down to Noah. Genesis 6, established the covenant with the priest and minister of his judgment. Genesis 6, verse 17, and behold, even I do bring the flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all the flesh right in the breath and from under the heaven and everything. But with thee will I establish the covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, thy wife and thy son's wife. 2 Peter chapter 2, and he spared not the old world, but saved Noah in the 8th person. Noah was a what? Preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemning them with an overthrow, making an example of those that shall later live ungodly. So we see in here that even Noah was a priest. And Noah would what? Preach righteousness. Genesis 8, priesthood Noah made. And 20, and Noah built an altar unto Yah, and took of every clean beast and every clean fowl, and offered a burnt offering. And there was a sweet smelling savor unto the Most High. What is Noah doing offering offerings if he's not a priest? The first order of priesthood is sacrifice, and then the next is offering. First, I'm going to give you the offering of my time, the offering of my prayer life, the offering of intercession. I'm going to give you that. The offering of my life. Sacrifice and offering. All right, let's keep going. Now I want to get to Abraham meets Melchizedek. Melech means king and Zedek means righteousness. Let's go. Genesis 14, somebody read that for me? So we're seeing this priesthood being passed all the way down. All right, let's keep going. That's an important point I want to get here. Genesis 14, somebody read that for me. Go ahead.
And when Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan.
Why do you think God highlighted it? Why do you think I highlighted he owned his trained servants?
Defend yourself.
Huh?
You're supposed to defend yourself.
They ain't have folks just go, even though they was walking with the Most High, they ain't have folks just sitting around in one train. He trained them and he owned them. It's time out for us as black people to sit around like sitting ducks.
That's right.
Well, you ain't trying to be, I know the Most High gonna protect you. And he protected them in the wilderness, but did they have swords?
Yes.
Didn't Peter cut somebody here or fool around with Mashiach? He wants us to be armed, but not just armed, but what? Trained. And that's why it's important, we was talking about before, that we're going to start doing that where we have training sessions for sisters and men, especially when it comes to guns and different things of that nature. We ain't telling you to go act like we finna go have a revolution or something like that. Now, we ain't finna go take nothing over. We just want you to protect yourself. You see what I'm saying? Y'all all right? All right, so keep reading. Let's drop down to, keep reading verse 15.
And he divided himself against them and his servants by night, and smote them, and pursued them into Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus.
So we see that we don't come from a lineage of people that's just weak. Abraham heard they had his cousin. He went over there and snatched them up, put them hands on them, got his covenant cousin, ain't got all this stuff. That's verse 18. But then he goes to meet somebody in verse 18. Read that.
And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wines, and was the priest of the Most High God.
So Melchizedek, after he entered war, then he meets a priest. And the priest gave him bread and wine. So from an ancient perspective, what does bread and wine mean? A covenant. But what is it saying when we both sharing bread and wine? Huh? Flesh and blood? But what does that mean?
Taking on my flesh and taking on my blood.
Taking on my flesh and taking on my blood, then we becoming what? One. So anytime from an ancient perspective, when you have bread and wine, that means the same thing as when the marriage sections. When you get married, we make that look real good. When you take that little bread and you feed each other and take the picture. And you take the wine. But that is saying that now we becoming one body. When we both eat of that bread and then when we both drink of that wine, we become in one blood. We are bound together by blood. So with Melchizedek, that Abraham met him and then he did what? He established a covenant with him and made Abraham a priest. He blessed him. So Melchizedek is king of Salem, and what we understood that the meaning is he destroyed the authority attached to chaos. So what did Melchizedek give Abraham the ability to do as a priest? When they became one, he gave Abraham, blessed him by giving him the ability to destroy the authority that is attached to anybody's chaos. That's what his lineage was blessed with. That's what his lineage was aligned with, and it came all the way up until today. That we have been blessed with the ability to what? Destroy things that are chaotic. Let's go to Genesis 15. Now I want us to really understand what Melchizedek gave him and what he put in his lineage. This is why when Mashiach walked the earth, he walked the earth with a different mentality. He walked the earth not seeing death. He walked the earth being able to sniff out chaos and eradicate it. That's why it talks about, so Yah so loved the order that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believe in him shall have life and shall not perish. If we are in that order, why things in our life are perishing? I think about that. You have been given a lineage of a priesthood that has within that priesthood and in that covenant to the ability to destroy anything that's chaotic. So while we're allowing chaos in our home, while we're allowing chaos in our lineage, it's time for us now to look within our lineage and say, I've been given the ability to eradicate that, not learn to live and deal with it. You see what I'm saying? To eradicate all darkness. I've been what? Empowered with that. I became one with that. With the ability to what? Destroy anything that's chaotic. Genesis 15, let's read that. Starting at verse, let's see what you got. Starting at verse 1. And after these things, the word of Yah came to Abraham in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abraham, for I am thy shield and thy exceeding reward. What did he tell Abraham? He says, what?
Shield and great reward.
What does that mean? That the Most High is a shield for us and a great reward. Do we believe that? How is it it's a shield but we get killed on the street? We're getting murdered in the land of our captivity. So what is he saying?
Call on me. Remember, I'm your God and call on me. It's for a reason.
Remember, I'm your Elohim and call on him. Is it something, can he protect somebody that don't really understand the protection? He can. But will he? Continuously. So this is why I tell you, you have to understand your covenant, because in your covenant is your protection and your exceeding great reward. A lot of times we try to do everything that the Gentiles do in order to get Yahweh. But he said, seek first what my kingdom of righteousness, and I'm beginning to add these things to you. When you begin to pray before me and intercede for me and do the work of the kingdom, I'm going to begin to add these things to you. But sometimes some of us got to do like Lot did, like Abraham did, and separate from people. Yeah. Some people you have to let go. They can't come into this next season with you. You can't keep struggling back and forth with it. Because they're holding up your empowerment. And they're holding up your protection. We understand that? Verse 4, and the word of Yah came unto him, saying that thou shalt have an heir, but he shall come forth out of thy own bowels, and shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, look now to the heavens and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And said to him, so shall thy seed be. And he believed Yah, and it was counted to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am Yah that brought thee out of the land of the Chaldeans to give thee a land. And he said, Yah, whereby shall I know I shall inherit this thing? So he been hearing a promise that's coming to him. He been hearing that there shall be a promise. You telling me from the beginning that I'm going to have a seed. But he said, how am I know this? You've been giving to me the power to eradicate even barrenness, but now I'm still barren. So he said, how am I going to know that I'm going to receive an heir? Let's keep reading. And he said to him, take me a heifer of 3 years old, and a sheep-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them into the midst, and laid them at peace against the side, but the birds divided not. And when the fowls came down from the carcass, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell over Abram, and lo, horror and great darkness fell upon him. What was going on then if he told him? He asked him, how I know I'm going to be heir, and he told him to go get some animals. What was he doing? Making a covenant. What kind of covenant was this? In ancient Near East cultures, when two people were about to make a blood covenant that will bind them together, not just them, but their lineage and their generations, they would take an animal and split the animal in half. They would do a figure 8 around the animal and come back to the middle of the two pieces on the side. And then in ancient times, they would declare blessings and curses over each other. The blessings was, because of this covenant, I'm going to be able to do this. You're going to have strength. That's just like if I make a covenant with a man in Africa that got $20 million. And he got me right there and said, I'm going to give you all my wealth. I'm going to give you all the power that I got if you honor the lines of this covenant. So they would declare blessings over each other, and then they would declare curses over each other too. And if you didn't do this, these are the curses that will happen to you. These are what? The consequences. But both of them were standing between the pieces and say, if I don't honor this covenant, then let me die just as these animals did. Notice that the Most High said, I'm going to show you that I'm going to honor this thing. I'm going to make a blood, go get me some sheep, go get me some oxes, and I'm going to split them in half. And I'm going to swear an oath by myself. It said, if I don't honor this oath, let me die. just as this animal died. But notice when you read down, what's the next thing he says? Verse 13. Know that a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them. How many years? 400. And that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward they shall come out with great substance. Notice how when he said he's going to make a covenant with them, he put them to sleep and showed them a prophecy of us. He said, I'm going to show you that you're going to be there. I ain't going to reveal Isaac. I'm going to reveal your children that's going to be 400 years from now in a land that is not their own. I ain't thinking about Isaac right now. I'm thinking about your lineage, your descendancy, that they are going to be in captivity for 400 years. And my promise ain't just about Isaac, but my promise is to them.
Yes.
Hallelujah. My promise is that there's no way that your children are going to stay in the land of their captivity for 400 years. As he said, they're going to be afflicted. Then after the affliction, what's going to happen? That don't mean we leaving in 2019, 2020. But he said, I'm going to judge that land. But if I don't go and bring them out of America and on the four corners of earth, then I got to die. Because of a promise, now I can have hope in a land where I'm being treated as an enemy. We see that? So that's the same type of hope that the Most High put into us. All right? And the same thing with Genesis 17. I'll just paraphrase that. Genesis 17 said, I'm going to make another covenant with you, that I'm going to make a covenant of circumcision, right? I'm going to make a covenant of circumcision. He said, just like the heavens above, and just like the earth beneath, just like the stars in the heaven, so shall your descendants be. And just like the sand of the sea, so shall your descendants be. And he said, notice, why did he make a covenant in his member? Of all places. Huh? Say again. He will always see it. Ain't the Most High made? That every time he went to go use the restroom, he'd think about that promise. Because he would see himself circumcised inside and say, my seed and my lineage, it's going to be like the stars of the heaven and the sand of the sea of the earth. And we have what? That same faith as Abraham.
Hallelujah.
This is why, even with myself, that because the priesthood passed down, I wasn't supposed to be here. My parents lost 6 babies in miscarriage. Losing baby after baby. But we have been given a priesthood that's supposed to destroy everything that attached to chaos. With the same faith of our ancestor Abraham. So there's no way that my mom's womb could stay buried.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Because the faith had already been passed down. He said those that have the faith for Abraham shall be what? Heirs.
Hallelujah.
Y'all getting that? Yeah. This is why if you're fighting something that's overcoming you, you are heir to the same grace that Abraham had. My mom's womb can stay buried. We couldn't stay the way that we were. You can't stay in the state that you're in because you are heir to that type of salvation. Not just being saved, but the salvation of your situation and your circumstances is still inside of you.
Hallelujah.
That's what you have, that priesthood.
Yes.
That same faith, that same covenant. We seeing that. Exodus 20. Now who is Jethro? Moses' father-in-law. But they call him a priest. Notice how Moses, he learned the Egyptian way, but he had to go spend 40 years with a priest to become a deliverer. He had to spend 40 years with a priest to become a deliverer. And do we know that that priest was the son of Abraham? Genesis 25. And Abraham took a wife, and her name was what? And she bore him Zamran and Jashkin and Medan and who? The same priesthood that was passed from Isaac also got passed to Keturah children where they understood it. And he met Abraham out in the wilderness and began to raise him as a shepherd to learn how to shepherd people. This is why you got to pay attention to even to your jobs that you're on, because it's all connected to what you're supposed to be doing here on earth and life. I've been in a job as at John Deere working for almost 15 years. I worked on the assembly line for about 10 years of that. What was I doing? Taking pieces of a part, putting it on to make it whole. Didn't realize that my purpose, even with my job, was being fulfilled. That the Most High was going to raise me up as a person that can take pieces of somebody and put them together to make them back whole, to watch the finished product. That priesthood was what? Traveling down. Then I got elevated into a quality inspector. Now I inspect the parts to make sure they're sufficient to handle the pressure of being formed. And it's Melchizedek order. Now we are supposed to identify what? Pieces in people that's causing them not to be whole. Watch every aspect of your life. Moses was raised in Egypt. He went 40 years to be around sheep, to be around governing animals, to learn how to govern almost 1 million of some people, if it was that. That's why you can't just be walking life and living life just to live life. We saying it. How did the Levites begin to be the priests? Because the Most High stopped passing it down, and he said, I'm going to give it to a tribe now. What happened? You remember when there was a problem and they began to worship the golden calf? And Moses stood on the side and said, who's going to be on y'all side? And all his tribe came and say, we win! We on y'all side. And Moses said, go in there and kill the rest of them. Moses didn't play. Moses wanted to pray, but he said, nah, go in there and kill them. See, we better get away from that Christianity, God. This one here don't play. A lot of us still serving Christian God. We think we can do what we want, say what we want. Do you know the Most High will kill you? Playing around with this is no time to be playing at all. But according to Exodus 32, 25 through 29, when they went in and defended the honor of the Most High said, I'm going to make your whole lineage priest. And they're going to run Israel until I can get this established Melchizedek order priesthood back where I want it to be. So that guided us for a minute, but was that what the Most High wanted? Did he wanted us a Levitical priest? Did he want us just slaughtering animals for every sin? Jeremiah 7 and 21, y'all mark this down. Jeremiah 7 and 21. Thus have Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, put your burnt offerings unto your sacrifices, and he said, for I spoke not unto your fathers, nor commanded them on the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt, concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. But this I commanded them is to obey my voice, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people, and they shall walk in my ways as I commanded you. I never wanted to have them just killing sacrifice after sacrifice after sacrifice. So I just wanted them to obey my voice. This is why we know that the sacrificial system is what got done away with at that time. You see what I'm saying? Because that's what he didn't want in the beginning. Not the whole law.
Right.
All right, we almost done. Was David a priest?
Yes.
How do we know? How do we know that David was a priest? He was anointed. What else? Let's see. David was a king, priest, and prophet. He was prophesying. Psalm 89. So I made my covenant with my children. I have sworn to David, my servant, that thy seed I have established forever, and I will build a throne to all your generations. My covenant will I not break, nor will I alter the things that are going in my mouth. Once I have sworn by my holiness, I will not lie unto David. And his seed, what? Shall endure, and his throne from the sun but before. Psalms 110. Did David know about the Melchizedek order? Sit down at my right hand until I make thy enemies thy footstool. And yours says, send a rod of thy strength unto Zion, and rule thou in the midst of thy enemies. And thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power, and the beauties of thy holiness from the womb of the morning thou hast the dew of thy youth. And Yah has sworn and will not repent. Thou art a what? Forever, after the order of Melchizedek. Notice David started doing stuff that other kings weren't doing. He started going to get the Ark of the Covenant. He started burning offerings and made sacrifices for the people. Genesis 14 and 8, and Melchizedek king of Salem brought forth bread and wine, and he was a priest of the Most High. During David's time, he was set back up as a king in Israel of Zion. And we understand that he was king of Jerusalem. The same thing that we had a new king, the same thing that how Melchizedek was king, David was also king or priest of Shalom also too. So David came to reestablish the king and priesthood order even after the Levitical order was fading out. We see it.
Because in those days, nobody could come to the Father unless they went to the priest.
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to put this fella up there. We ain't got no pictures.
That's all stone you for real.
I had to put him up there. Ain't got no pictures. But Yadam Messianics will say that it's an idol to even believe and serve in Yahusha. And they saying you put somebody before the Father, and this dude got the audacity to say, can't nobody come to the Father but by through me. But do you know, in the Torah, that the people couldn't go to the Father but through the high priest? You can't just go straight to the Father with any type of, the priest had to what? Look at your sacrifice and say it's acceptable before you get to the Most High. And then the priest would get judged if they allowed an unacceptable sacrifice to go through. But what was Yahusha? He was high priest and he was the lamb that was slain. So you have to honor the sacrifice and the high priest before you could go to the Father. He wasn't making nothing up. He was still going from what was in the beginning. Show you these scriptures to validate it. Hebrews 7. The former is showing you that he's the high priest. The former priests of one hand existed great numbers because they were prevented by death from continuing. But Yahusha, on the other hand, because he continues forever, holds his priesthood permanently. Therefore, he is also able to save forever those that draw near unto Elohim through him, since he always lived to make intercession for them. For it was fitting for us to have such a priest, a holy, innocent, undefiled, separated from sinners, and exalted above the heavens, who does not need it daily, like the high priest, to offer up sacrifices. First his own sins, and then the sins of the people, because he did it once and for all when he offered up himself. For the law appoints men as high priests who are weak, but the word of oath, which is the after the law, appoints a son made to perfection forever. Now we have a high priest that sit on the right hand of the Father. This is who we're supposed to be presenting people to. After we present ourselves to him, now you become priests and intercessors that you present others to him. To get what? Their clean or their sins forgiven. Alright, so he's the high priest and he's the lamb. Hebrews 10. For the law having a shadow of good things to come and not the very image of things can never, with those sacrifices which they offer year by year until they make them come into being perfect. For then would they have not ceased to be offered, because the worshippers once purged shall have no more conscience of sin. But in those sacrifices there is a remembrance again made of sins every year. For it is not possible for blood and for ghosts to take away sins. Wherefore when he cometh into the world, he sacrificed an offering that was not, but a what? A body that thou was prepared for me, and burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin, thou hast no pleasure. Then I said, lo, I come into the volume of book. Verse 8, above when he said sacrifice and burnt offerings, and offerings for sin thou wouldest not, thou hast no pleasure therein, which he offered by law. Then he said, lo, I come to do thy will. He didn't take away the first, that he may establish the second. By that we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Yahuwah HaMashiach once and for all. And this is why he can say that you can't come unto the Father but through the sacrifice, and then me being a high priest, because I am holy. And we have the same ministry of priesthood that's in our lineage that came down to us. That we've been gifted with the ability to destroy chaotic things that are first within our houses and then without. We are the priests of the earth. This priesthood has been passed all the way down from Adam to Noah to Melchizedek to Abraham, all the way down to us. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You got any questions?
I do. When I hear, I know the Most High has.
Does somebody get on mic?
I know the Most High has a plan and a purpose, and I know that there's a destruction and everything else that has to happen. And when I hear and read the scriptures, you know, they say, okay, we are priests. I sometimes battle with. So you said that of this earth, that we're the priests of the earth. At this time, would I be accurate in saying it's our priesthood isn't here yet? So the authority that we're supposed to have is not evident. We're unable to do the things that we would like to see done at this time because our priesthood is not active in the earth yet. Is that appropriate? Because right now, you know, Satan's kingdom is in order. And so even though we have the position, we're still unable to do what we would like. You struggle on.
You having a struggle with our position through kingship versus priesthood. Kingship is the authority that we're going to give to reign over the earth. Well, we're going to have power in order to do these things and establish these things and go in these nations and take these nations. That type of rulership. But priesthood is being able to cover people's sins where they see their sins. We begin to make them whole again. We begin to, that's why it says, well, you in the land of your captivity. He said, I'm going to make you a sanctuary in the midst of them. So we're supposed to be first interceding for ourselves, then interceding for the nation of Israel ourselves, and then bringing the sons of Adam back unto him also. So the priesthood is still here, right? Because if it wasn't, all of us would be lost. We have no way of returning to the Most High. We have no way to get rid of resentment, bitterness, all these type of things that clog us up. We are seeing people are delivered from that thing. That's priesthood work. Kingship work is when we will rule with a rod of iron, we'll rule from authority, and we'll be able to shut down cities. That ain't been activated yet, because that's waiting on a specific time. But we're supposed to be priests to each other right now, and walking in that Melchizedek order over the spiritual realm. Because priesthood deals with spiritual realm, but kingship deals with governing of the natural. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Does that make sense to everybody? Any other questions? Go ahead. Young man, let me get.
I'm loud, man.
You good.
But hey, something you talked about last night on the phone call, man, with Tyler. It's like, it was mind blowing, because it was right there. It was talking about the world and how the meaning of the world in, what is it, John 3:16? But then when you look at what the meaning of the world really means, it's different than what we were trained to think.
Exactly.
The world don't always mean the world.
Exactly.
Would you just kind of touch on that again?
Okay. When it talks about, let's see if I can go there real quick. When it talks about John 3:16, right, where it says that the Most High, let me see if I can go there real quick. I think I had that slide. What do we understand, those that went on that call last night, about John 3:16?
It's talking about the world of Israel.
I want the people that went on the call last night, somebody give me what they think John 3:16 was talking about. Anybody can answer.
And the Most High loves the order he purposed to exist. And that order includes Israel as the king.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. Go ahead, Mom.
Orderly arrangement and government.
Mom, you was on the phone last night. Alright, so let's do this real quick because it came back to bring the order, right? A lot of times we see John 3:16 said, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son that whosoever believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. Let's look at that. Alright, let's look at word. John 1, 1 John 2 and 15. He said, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. For any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So how in the world he gonna say he so loved the world, but he tell us don't love the world? And if you love the world, the Father ain't in you. Then James 4:4, he said, you adulterers, do not friendship with the world bring hostility towards God. How in the world I'm gonna love the world and you telling me friendship with the world don't bring hostility, but you sent your son for the world. Romans 12:2, be not conformed to the world, but you be transformed by the renewal of your mind. James 1:27, pure undefiled religion.
Recorded last night?
Cool.
Was it recorded?
Yeah, the call was recorded. It was recorded last time. Yeah, I had to get it out there. Anybody else got any questions on some of the stuff that we talked about? Because when you really get to understanding the mindset of the Most High, you see he didn't do stuff in a universal way. That's Catholic thought when it comes to universal. He wrote a whole book talking to a certain people in Hebrew. Think about it. He didn't say, I'm gonna speak to this group here in Hebrew. I'm gonna keep speaking. No, he said, I'm gonna put all my Jews in this language because they're gonna be with these people. I'm gonna take my culture and give them a culture and hide my word in that culture. And if you want to come, you got to come through those people. Because we are what? The gates and the doors. Lift up your head, all you what? Gates. And everlasting what? We're the door to Yahusha. And Yahusha is the door to the Father. Can't nobody get to the Father but through Yahusha, which is the high priest, and then people can't get to through Yahusha but through his what? People. So I set up in Revelation. Anybody else got a question? Now don't take the attitude like, you can't come to Yahusha. But through me. Bet you won't get them today. Amen. Shut up the heavens. Yeah. I'm going to say David. Everybody else got a question? You got a question, baby? What's your question? What did a high priest do? Well, a high priest, that's a great question. A high priest took the sins or the things that people would do that's not fault. The sins that people would do against the nation or against the Most High. They had like a day of atonement that he would go before the Most High. He had to atone for his own sins, give forgiveness for his sins, forgiveness for his house. And then he would pray and to try to get forgiveness for the whole nation. And they would take a sacrifice in order to sacrifice the animal so it could be a sweet smelling savior unto the Most High. So that what his job was to do is to be, I'm explaining it in a way that you can understand it too. His job is to be, just say like, you got friends at school, right? And some of your friends at school, they don't know the Most High, right? Or you homeschool. But some of your friends, some of your brothers and sisters, some people that you might be, maybe might be cousins or different ones, like you got some cousins, don't you? All right, we on the same thing. Got some cousins. Some of your cousins might not know the Most High. So the Most High can use you as a priest in order to pray for them to get things happen to them, to get their forgiveness until they can answer the Most High. So a high priest is like a person that can go in between Yah, which is the Most High, and be able to get their prayers through, be able to get the Most High to hear them, and get the Most High to see them. You pray for your cousin. See, that's what you already working in priest work, baby. You're already working in priest work. So that's what you're supposed to do. In so many words, that's what a high priest does too. Overall. Anybody else? All right. We thank thankful for everybody that came to be with us. We hope that you had a great good time, that you get some understanding from the scripture. When you understand how important you are, I wanted to show you that king and priesthood has been passed all the way down to your lineage. Especially, this is what it means to have the faith of Abraham. All right? All right, so let us, can we get some of the visitors that have came here to just give us their name and who invited them? Okay, stand up and give us their name. Even if you don't want to stand up, you can sit down. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, I mean, not going.
Oh, yeah. You royalty.
You said name and who invited you?
Yeah, and how you enjoy the service that you had.
Testing. Okay. I'm be honest with you. We've been with you for a while through internet and all that.
Y'all been in the dust?
No, not in the dust. No. Yeah. Through the internet, just with the video. We got done ago. My mother actually reached out to y'all.
Oh, okay.
My mother.
What's your name?
Christiana.
I got you now.
Yeah.
I thought you was somebody else.
Okay.
I got you.
I'm starting for a reason. I ain't gonna say it, though. I was supposed to email y'all a long time ago. I emailed you and Josh. But that's how we here right now. And it was edification for everything that you were saying. Even on the way here from Atlanta. 3 books I read out of on the way here that you spoke of right now. So,
Hallelujah.
It was because I was Andrew. Andrew Jeremiah, yeah.
Andrew Jeremiah. Oh, that's your name? Oh,
yeah, that's my favorite, yeah.
For sure. We're going to get your information before we leave. Go ahead, Sister Christine.
Okay, just piggybacking on the channel.
Lamb
My name is Chris, huh?
Lamb here with the pig.
I'm Christiana. This is my son Andrew, Mahogany, India, and Shalom.
Beautiful names, Mahogany, India, and Shalom. Beautiful names.
And we're coming from Covington, and I'm ecstatic to be here.
Hallelujah.
We're ecstatic to have you among us. Hallelujah. And I do want to say this. Anybody else here from Atlanta? Oh, I know y'all guys. But y'all from Atlanta too? Okay. All right, let me say something. Then we got some announcement for y'all.
Danielle, Sylvia. We've also been following Rebirth online for a while now. We made it to a few feast days, so we just wanted to come down here, check you guys out. We invited ourselves. And these are my children, Myla, Avanti, and Marley. Yes, you immersed this one.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, feast the trumpet.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, this is my sister Tulia.
Sister Tulia.
Yes.
You gonna say something, Sister Tulia?
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Oh. Alright, let me say this about Atlanta. We will be coming back up there to Atlanta. Just give us what we're gonna end up doing with Atlanta.